Hey everybody, welcome back. So I'm returning to a location that I last shot, actually only time I've shot here before was 2 years ago. Fitzgerald Falls. I'm heading in that direction now, up along the Appalachian Trail in Rockland County, New York. It's about a mile hike, not too far from here. I'll put up an image of the last time I was here from 2 years ago, which was in May, early spring actually, and it was one of my favorite photos from 2019. So now we are 2.5 years later. It's the end of September. Technically it's fall. There's not much color in the area, but there's definitely fall in the air, a little on the cool side. But I'm going to go back up there because I have a couple of ideas on how to shoot that waterfall differently from the last time I was here. So let's resume once I get up to the cascade. Well, I have arrived at Fitzgerald Falls, which is right here behind me, and I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed. When I was here before, of course, I know it was early spring, water levels were high because of snow runoff and rains and spring rains and such. We have had an unusually rainy summer in this area, and I was hoping the waters would be higher, especially considering that we had actually significant rains a couple of days ago. As you can see, the water is not that heavy, but it is still an interesting water formation. You can see that how the cascade splits between that around that big boulder right there. Last time I was here, there was a big tree that had fallen. It was kind of right across there. That has now since washed down. It's over here someplace. So I want to walk around and see if I can find a composition. Also, the light's not that great, but with the clouds kind of going in and out, if it's not too cloudy, if it's not too bright, not too cloudy, I think I can still get a good image over here. So let's see what I can find. I think I found my composition. It's at the bottom of the cascade where it falls into a little pool. I've got some leaves swirling around, some bubbles swirling around. And what's interesting is that I mentioned that the waterfall forks around this big boulder. Now the problem is that the lens that I have with me, which is the 24-105, or it's had mounted, I should say, on the 24-105, is not really wide enough for the vertical composition I really have in mind. Unfortunately, since I do have a 16-35, and probably about 16 millimeters would be great for this, but I just forgot, since it's an EF lens, and I forgot to bring my RF adapter, so I'm stuck with using the 24-105, but I think I might just do a vertical panorama to get around that. My settings are going to be about 2 seconds at ISO 400. The light's kind of going in and out, so I might actually wind up doing a couple of variations of that exposure, especially since the pool, when the sun shines, gets through the trees, the sun shines on the pool, it reveals the boulders that are at the bottom, and that looks pretty interesting. So I may actually wind up doing some kind of a bracketing. Ultimately, I want to show the cascade at least about halfway up. And what I think I want to do is wait and see if I can time my exposures for when the sun is just illuminating the pool, but not too much illuminating the rock, because otherwise I'll wind up, or the waterfall, because otherwise I'll wind up with too many bright highlights to work with in post. So I'm going to put you down when I set up my shot. As I mentioned, I have the polarizer on here, which is going to maximize or minimize reflections and allow me to see the bottom of the pool, and also control the highlights of the wet rocks and the algae, and or the moss, I should say. And then we'll see what we get. And whatever I get, you're going to see right after this. I've just hiked up to the top of the main cascade, and there's a little mini cascade right here, which I think could lend itself to an interesting little composition if I just adjust the camera a little bit. What I'm thinking about is a low angle, using this line of rocks up to the little mini cascade there, and I'm probably going to have to focus stack the image just because of the depth of, from front to back. But I think this could be good. I'm not sure I love that fallen tree, but trees fall, what are you going to do? So I might actually cut the image just below that spot and focus basically on the lower cascade and this rocks right here. So let me go fetch my camera, set it up, and then we'll see what we got. Well, thank goodness for L brackets and flippy screens, because otherwise I'd have to be standing down here, either maybe in the water or on some very slippery rocks, and putting myself in some significant danger. But as it is, I'm able to sit right here and take this series of shots. So I'm set up with my right now F11, no, not F11, F16, 1.6 seconds, and ISO 100, and I'm going to focus stack about 4 or 5 images, starting with the foreground image. So I'm going to take that right now. Another one right there. All right, so those first two were focused on the boulder that's in the foreground and different spots of it. Now I'm going to focus on the cascade, lower part of the cascade, upper part of the cascade. And the last one is going to be on the rocks above the cascade. Now, given that I'm at F16, I probably don't really need all those shots. I might just use 2 or 3, especially since with long exposure and flowing water, each shot I take, the water is going to be slightly different, so I'm probably just going to take 1 exposure out of that bunch and just blend that in to basically be the water part of the exposure. But I think this is going to be pretty good. I'm going to try a shorter shutter speed also, and that's going to mean bumping my ISO up a little bit just to maybe get it down to a little bit under, around a second or 0.8 of a second, and whichever thing looks the best, you'll see right now. I've come a little further up the trail and found another section of the cascade, and this one's a little bit interesting. As you can see, it just kind of meanders into a little collecting pool over here, and the thing is that because of those overhanging branches from that tree, I've adopted a very low camera angle. Actually, here's my camera right here. You can see how low down it is. It's another good reason to get a tripod that doesn't have a center column, because if I had another type of tripod, I wouldn't be able to get down this low. Basically, my aim is to try and cut out as much of this pool as I can and use the yellow leaves that are right here as a foreground element, and also capture the reflection of the cascade in the pool, so that will help connect the foreground to the background. I'm definitely going to have to focus stack this though, because I'm right up on the leaves, and the cascade's about 30 feet away from top to bottom. Actually, it's about the top of it's probably about 100 feet away. So, and I also have to wait for a little bit better light. And I want to show you what my settings are right now before I actually take the shot, because I want to wait for the sun to come out from behind the clouds and get a little bit more light in the situation. But my settings right now, and hopefully you can see it, I'm at F14, excuse me. Settings 1.3 seconds for the shutter speed, and I'm at ISO 100. I might change that a little bit once the sun comes out. As you can see, I've got the polarizer turned so that I can get as much of the rocks underneath as possible, and also basically cut down the glare on the cascade. That will be more evident once the sun comes out, so I'm going to have to wait before I actually take the image or set of images. I'm not going to bore you with waiting for the light and all that stuff, but once it does pop out, I'll take the images, and then you'll see the final composition right after this.
When I processed this image, I realized the composition didn't quite work. The pool was too wide and the cascade was too small and distant. So I employed the magic of Photoshop to make the cascade closer and bigger. The final image isn't exactly what I saw, but it's what I felt, and it's much better than the original scene.
Well, folks, I think that's going to make it a wrap. Pardon the road noise, but I'm parked just behind me. I'm going to hit the road and get on home. But thanks for getting this far, and if you've liked what you've seen and want to see more of it, please hit the subscription button and the notification bell that's right down here, and give me a comment and a like. Any interaction that I have with you will tell YouTube that my content is interesting to folks, and hopefully we'll get more people to see it. So thanks again, and until the next time I see you, bye for now.